Hello, welcome and a very good evening. And tonight we have another guest, and it's a slightly broken guest, and it's another C64. A bit earlier we had a C64G, which was basically intact, but it had problems with the keyboard. 2 keys were missing. So we had to look inside, replace the keyboard, and it's working fine since then. So in theory I have enough C64s, except this one is not a G, but one of the original breadbins. Not the very first revision, I think, but it's an earlier model. And as you can see, it's got the nice brown case, or brownish case, and the brown keys, whereas the C64G has a slightly different keyboard. This one has the printing of the passkey characters on the front. All in all, this thing here is in rather good shape. On the back there were some marks from, I think, some nubs that were on here. So a bit of a cleaning will be necessary, but I won't do that today. And the main problem with this one is that its color is flickering, and I'm gonna put up some video right now where you can see that. And the question is, what is broken with this thing? And there are basically 2 options. It could be either the color SRAM chip, or it could be the PLA. It could also be the VIC video chip, but since sprites and other stuff are working pretty well, I doubt that it's the VIC that is broken. So I got this one for 20 euros, which is rather cheap, because it was untested and probably broken, and it's slightly broken. If it's only the color SRAM, then we are looking at a €1 replacement part, basically. You can get a bunch of them for free shipping for 4 euros, I think, for a couple of those chips, because they are pretty common. They are, I'm not sure if they are made anymore, so they are probably used, but they should have a pretty long lifetime in there. I'm not sure what happened to this guy, but yeah, it's a failure point that can happen. We will have a look inside of this. I think it might have been opened because the seal here is a bit broken, but I don't see any external modifications, so I'm rather confident that it will have no major modifications. It will be interesting to see what's in there. The SID chip is still in there. I tried a demo and it played some sound, so that's good. Sometimes they open up these things to rip out the SID chips for other uses or for just selling them on eBay, which is actually pretty sad. But this seems to have that. So I hope we find pristine C64 and let's repair it, okay? So here we have our patient, and as you can see, it's actually visually in quite an okay condition. Some of the front labels of the keys are a bit worn off, but all in all it doesn't look too shabby. And the good thing about the early breadbins is that at least this one doesn't yellow quite as much. And yeah, let's gonna open this up and see what's the problem, if we can already see something that could produce this. As I said, most probably this will be the color RAM or the PLA. There might be other issues, but I ran some more tests, and the VIC is probably not the problem. Everything that's doing sprites and stuff is looking good. So maybe it is the color RAM that will be the first thing that we will swap out and that we can test for. But first, let's open up this thing. So here we are in, and let's remove the shield, and already you can see it's dusty. It doesn't seem to have been opened before from the looks of it. I mean, the cutout here looks a bit weird, but it might be for the voltage regulator. Not sure about that. Maybe someone in the comments knows how these things look. It's a 250425 board, copyright 1984. So not the earliest revision, but it is one of the larger boards with a bunch of RAM chips here. This is the PLA, and this is the color SRAM. there's still a SID in here, which is good. Many of the current C64s that you can get have this ripped out for harvesting for other projects, which is sad. But I think the SID works fine. I ran a demo and at least it sounded more or less fine. I'll have to do some more tests on that, if there is anything wrong with the SID. If so, then I have a replacement still here, or we just take a SwinSID or an ARM SID. I would rather go with the ARM SID nowadays because it also emulates the later SID revision, which is important for the demos. And so, yeah, but we'll see. And all the other chips are probably fine. Haven't had any problems so far. Let's unscrew this and take out the board, dust it off with some compressed air. And then we can go and desolder this thing and put a socket in there for testing. So here we got the board, nice and clean. I'm gonna put the light a bit over here so you're not looking to that much glare. We've got some 18-pin dual wipe sockets. We've got our reliable Tachyflux by Emil Otto. And we've got our cheap solder pump, but this always works. So we will remove this little bugger here, put in a socket. I also have a bunch of replacement ICs. I will try one of these first. They might still be broken. So there's a different solution if this one doesn't help, where we remove the SRAM and fake an SRAM with resistors. I learned that on the forum and we can try that out, which should lead to black characters instead, which should show us that the SRAM definitely is at fault and not the PLA. But if that also gives us the flickering stuff, then the PLA is probably at fault. So let's put some flux on there and get this thing removed. Well, look at this. It took me quite a while because the ground pin was so stuck because there's a huge ground plane on the backside. Even when I turn up my iron to 400 degrees. In the end I had to desolder it from the top because there was still a blob that wouldn't flow to the bottom, and yeah, I had to desolder this leg here from the top. I hope I didn't destroy anything apart from this, because I think I roasted this. It possibly can't have survived this, but who knows. I'm gonna put this aside into the garbage pile basically, and I'm gonna put in one of the sockets, and then we plug in one of the extra RAMs and see if it works. So there we are. The socket is in. Let us populate it with a, well, probably used SRAM chip that I got off of eBay. Yeah, these look used, but what are you gonna do? Interesting that the notch is slightly weird here. The notch is over here. So I hope that's alright if I line it with the regular notch that we have on the top end of the socket. Make sure to align it properly, no legs being bent, and yes, there you have it. Let's see if I can pick this up to show you a little bit closer. Here we are. I think that looks okay-ish. There's still a little bit of dust here and there, but I think that's fine. Let's try this out. Let's see if this powers on and gives us any good signal. Okay, here is nothing. Let's turn it on and see what happens. And look at that. It looks just fine. I don't have any keyboard attached, so I can't test it, but as you can see, there is no more flickering, so it was the SRAM indeed. And yeah, I was hoping that it isn't the PLA, because it took me quite a while to desolder this 18-pin chip without any automatic desoldering gun, which is probably something that I should get at some point, but yeah, I'm doing that too rarely that it matters. But it was definitely the bad SRAM, as it seems, which is fine. This is very useful to know. I will assemble this, I will run a few demos to get this thing through its paces, and then we have a perfectly restored C64 board revision. What was it? 250425. Yeah, well, I think this is a great success. That was the repair and the test of our new C64, and I must say it was pretty successful, so that's a good thing. And as you have seen, it was all complete, a bit dusty. There might have been someone in there before, but maybe they took a look and thought, okay, no idea what's going wrong here, so I'll just leave it. Which is a good thing, because now we repaired it, and I hope it will run for another 35 years at least. And yeah, I think that's it for today. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Leave a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending if you like this video or not. Definitely leave a comment, tell me your stories about the C64. And if you want to support me otherwise, I have a Patreon, which is down in the links. Otherwise, you can also give a one-time award via Ko-Fi, or just send something via PayPal so I can buy more of these things and repair them. Yeah, but that's it for today. Have a nice evening.